Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. I'm down here in the south part of town, taking part in the business symposium in town.
Nice.
So I love the fact I can get out here, just be on my phone, do the Spark Live, all good stuff.
It's a crazy world, isn't it?
It is. Who knew? As a did you ever think as a kid we'd be able to do this kind of stuff?
Well, I'll be honest. Not as a kid, because I wasn't that into technology. I mean, my family owned a black and white television when all my friends had color televisions, and we kept it in a closet and only pulled it out for sports and occasional like specials for like Sunday night
Yeah,
Disney and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
we just weren't a big technology family. I didn't get our first computer until I was in my teens. And at that point, once we had a computer in the house, even before this, it was connected to anything before internet. But then I was like, oh, this is going to change everything. I mean, life will never be the same. And
yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah, it was later in my life, I guess, my teens.
Well, it was so far removed from anything I would even think about when I was a kid. I was too busy outside playing. That's all
Yeah,
we did. I mean, we
right.
had outside play, outside play. I mean, who would have thought that that is being replaced by just people doing this all day long? It's just crazy,
All
crazy.
day. All day. Yep. All right. Well, we're
Yeah,
going to be talking about technology and kind of where it's brought us. We're going to be talking about the positive side of it, not the dark side of it.
not the dark side.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about workplace automation and how you can use automation in your business and why it matters, and show you how it kind of connects to where we are right now, um, with what a lot of people are perceiving as a downturn in the economy, and some changes and things coming. People are all many people that we know are saying, my business, our phones have slowed down. We're not getting the same kind of business that we were getting during the pandemic when everybody had stimulus money and everything. And so um, what I want to talk about is automation and how it fits into this current world that we're in, and this picture that we're looking at now, because it really can do a lot of the things that we need it to do when we're faced with a down economy, believe it or not. So we'll
Hmm.
be talking about that
Yeah.
as we go. So welcome everybody. Appreciate you being on. If you joined us and you come in, please give us a thumbs up or a heart. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. All of those things are indicators to the AI algorithms that help our show, our efforts here, go further and reach more people. So always appreciated. Thank you. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, Taylor, is this common misconception that automation. When we talk about automation, we're talking about robots. We're talking about things that are just autonomous and they go out and they do stuff for you. And um, you know that's really not all that automation is. In fact, automation can really be described as any tool, whether it's a physical tool or a um, virtual tool like software, that does something for you that either speeds up a process or takes over a process that you used to have to manually do or that required manual labor. So lots of things. I mean, think of your job site. Mixing concrete on a big job used to be, four or five guys mixing concrete and hauling it up in buckets or wheelbarrows or whatever. Um, and then, a crew can get one good size concrete mixer and automate the mixing of concrete, and it reduces the amount of labor necessary to staff on the job site by quite a bit. So it doesn't necessarily replace those people. It just means that those people's skills can be better used in other places. And so automation really can be that's like a really good way to look at it. Like, automation is something that you can put in place in your business that takes over a repetitive, high value, like, something that has to be done in order to create value in your business for your consumers, your users, your clients, your customers, and your staff. But it can take over that part or work with people in the business in order to create more consistent results on an ongoing basis. So anything that does that could be called automation, and anything that can reduce the amount of man hours necessary to achieve a consistent, reliable, repeatable result in your business is always a good thing to look at, especially in a down economy. Efficiency is one of those places where, there's two ways to get rich, right? As a business owner, one is, grow your business and continue to get new customers and grow your revenue. And you're making some profit on that, but you're not really concerned about the percentage of profit. You're just gonna, it's winning in volume, And the other way to do it is by getting dialed in and very specific about your profit goals. You may not grow your top line revenue at all for several years, but if you continue to trim costs, become more efficient, apply resources in places that give you a multiplied effect, then you can become more profitable. In other words, more money in your pocket. You've grown in terms of what the business is giving you without ever having to actually see a top line revenue growth. So in a down economy, efficiency becomes the name of the game. That's everything right now. So that's important to think about.
Yeah, and this may be oversimplistic, but the way that I look at automation versus robotics, because robotics can be automation, but automation doesn't necessarily mean they're robots. So I don't know if you remember that old I Love Lucy deal where Lucy and Ethel are in the chocolate factory.
Yes.
Well, that conveyor belt that's coming, that's automation. So that's helping the chocolate get down. So they're moving the chocolate down, and that's an automated process because it's something that's moving it along the pathway. And there are people there trying to package it and do whatever, and they can't, so they're eating it like crazy. But if they make a lot of money, the company, if they change and take Lucy and Ethel out and put robots in, they're just picking that up and package it because it's a very repetitive thing on there done by a robot. But you still have the conveyor belt. That's the automation. So that's kind of the way I look at automation and robots. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a legitimate way of putting it. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
It's just one of those things that's really interesting.
So I think that getting too dialed in on like the specifics between automation and robots is, at some point, I think it's an important distinction, but at some point for a business, it's not as material as we might make it out to be. For the purposes of this conversation, we're going to talk about automation as something that you put in place that is a process or a system that can run with minimal labor or interference from human beings to accomplish things that human beings used to have to do manually. Okay, so that's a pretty broad definition, but it's a useful one for what we're going to be talking about. So, all right, let's talk about. We talked a little bit about how do you identify those things, right? Look for things in your business that are repetitive, over and over and over again, have to be done, and look for any efficiency that could be gained in those specific tasks. That if you had a better tool, if you had something that could be set up and run so that you didn't have to attend to it with your time as frequently, those are good candidates for automation. So we're going to talk later about different categories of automation in business and get into that. one of the big questions we get asked is, what is it going to cost in order to automate? And you've certainly seen tools. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about software today because, digital is kind of the playground that we operate in with our marketing business. Automation can run, from tens of dollars, you can automate a process, to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it really just depends on what you're trying to automate and how important it is to you to get it right and to automate a process, how complicated it is to automate that. Most of what we're going to be talking about today is certainly not on the extreme of either of those. We're talking about something that you can or things that you can automate that provide extreme value for the cost of the automation. So affordability really is one of those subjective questions that you have to decide whether or not it's worth it, right? Like there's a line for you. It costs me this much, but when I use it, it gets me this much, right? So somewhere higher than that, hopefully. If it's not higher than, if you don't get back from it what it costs, right? Negative ROI is what we would call that. Then, certainly not worth automating, right?
Well, and I do think too that I don't necessarily like the term afford, and mainly because when you're talking about can I afford something, it's in the expense category. I'm going to take money out and I'm not going to get anything back. So, and I think that's one of those things that you have to look at automation as an investment, that you're going to invest in a tool or in a set of tools or whatever, that you have to make sure and monitor and track what you're getting out of it, because once that is done, then you can really determine if that investment is in fact worth it. And then it's like any other investment. If it's not worth it, if you find that it's not worth it, then that's something you need to stop doing. If you buy a stock and you've lost 50% and you see it's keeping going down, you want to sell it and get something out of it before you lose it all. But at the same time, if you buy a stock and the whole market's down 50%, then the whole market's probably going to go back up at some point. So you see, does that make sense? So you have an investment, and it may take a while for you to see the return on it, but you got to stay in it long enough to see what it really does and to see what that return is. And then it's not a matter of whether I can afford it or not. It becomes a matter of whether I can afford not to do it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And having clear goals about what it is we're trying to accomplish here.
Absolutely. That's true.
If I have, if I'm paying $25 an hour to people to do a job, and I can buy a tool that, can help that person do the same job that I've hired them to do in less time, and the number of hours times the hourly price is, on an ongoing basis is sufficiently less than the tool itself, then it's a no-brainer, right? It becomes a how can I not afford to do this? I mean, but there's other reasons too. Automation is great as a tool to support employees in the job that you've asked them to do. Employees can absolutely fall in love with automation because it makes their job not only easier, but more successful, right? They can do their job to a higher degree of continued success and consistency because of that automation that supports them. So when you think about office morale, when you think about culture, when you think about all of those intangibles that are so important to business and the goals of the business and its growth, then automation actually becomes like an employee, like a 24/7, never calls in sick, doesn't need sick, vacation time, and doesn't have kids. That's kind of what you can get out of this. And you'll find that employees at all levels of your business can use automation effectively to do their job better.
And personally, that's why I like automation. Is not only that, but the fact that I don't have to remember a whole lot of stuff. If you've got something set on autopilot, then once it's set and once it gets done, I don't have to go back and remember anything, which is great because I can
Yeah.
go on and do other things.
Yeah, right. Getting a system that just prompts you when it needs something from you, but you can tag it. So I guess this might be a good time to just kind of talk about, we've talked about this before in our discussions of automation, but I like to think of automation in two categories, just top level categories. There's fully automated and then there's semi-automated, right? So fully automatic is a system that you put in place that replicates or takes the place of someone in your business. It's completely hands off, or let's say 90% hands off. Maybe you have to feed material into it or something, but the output is the same as what a paid employee would do without the employee. So that's a fully automated process. A semi-automated process is one that employees engage with. It becomes like a butler or a secretary or an assistant that you tell it what you need, and then it goes and does those things that you need for as long as you need it to do it, and only really involves you again when there's some reason for you to become aware of what it's doing. And it may become appropriate at some point to tell it to stop doing that. I don't need that. I don't need you to do that anymore, in which case it turns off and sits there and waits until you're ready for it, ready to use it again. So that's a semi-automated process. But let's talk about the different examples here real quick. Okay, back office automation. This is where, financial stuff, software has come so far. QuickBooks, all of these types of software are getting so much better about automated billing and following up on estimates following up on invoices that haven't been paid. But there's even more that can be done than a lot of those software things do. And you're going to see some overlap in these categories, these examples that we're talking about, because we're talking about back office automation, but we're also going to talk about communication automation. And it's almost impossible to talk about one without talking about the other, because so much of what we're really trying to automate is letting someone know they need to do something, right? A repetitive task in any business is that stack of unpaid invoices where people are delinquent and getting money to you. The longer those sit, the less likely they are to be paid. And, that's not good for accounts receivable. So going after that is important. And I know people that have hired firms, and basically said, here's a stack of estimates I keep saying estimates, invoices that I don't think we'll ever get paid on. We lost Taylor. Well, he'll come back here in a minute. But these invoices, we've already written them off, but, go after them, see what you can get. And if you can get them, then, we'll split it with you 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever. So, but software can actually help with the process of communicating with customers that need to pay you and giving them an opportunity to get you paid before you ever have to get to a situation where it's a write-off. So communication about the money stuff and the back office stuff is truly important. The front office, right? The CSR stuff, the answering the phones, communicating with customers about appointments, all of those things are very important communication automation phases of the business, and these days very easy to automate. So with systems like our system, Customer Engine, there's other big platforms out there that cost a lot more money that that can do those things as well, just depending on what system you want to use and get with. Oh, there's Taylor. He's back. Hey, man.
Well, that was the first. My phone said it's too hot. It just shut off.
Really?
Never had it do that again. So I held it in front of my air conditioner. So I was like, okay, that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So not sure why, but I'm gonna hold it right here so that the air conditioner hits it. I guess this program is really tough on it. I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that.
No worries. So let's talk about marketing automation. This is where, and I mean true marketing, like going after new customers, communicating with existing customers about special offers that you have that they need. And automating that process has become a no-brainer. And as a marketing company, I will say that we use automation internally quite a bit to help us serve our customers better and to make sure that we do what we need to do on their behalf when we need to do it, and use automation to deliver even better results. And so lots of ways that marketing can help in terms of email campaigns, in terms of text messages, in terms of even helping you put together learning, some automation with some AI can help understand exactly what your most popular offers have been in a given period, and telling you what you need to run as a special now or in 3 months, so that you can succeed like you had before, or even do better than you did last time. So those are important examples of marketing automation. Sales as well, following up on open estimates. I know we beat that drum quite a bit, but it's important, and it's one of the places in a business. It's one of the biggest cracks that we see in where revenue leaks out of a company. Potential revenue just absolutely drains away, and companies miss out on millions of dollars every year because they don't have a simple automation process to follow up when an estimate has been presented to a customer and that customer hasn't given you a yes or a no yet. So very, very important, very simple problem to solve. All right, so those are some examples of areas in your business that automation applies. Now let's talk about some of the most important benefits that you get out of automation, okay? We've been mentioning these, but here they are just as a list of 7 things. Think about these as we're looking at these 7 things. Think about those areas of your business where these benefits would be absolutely invaluable to you, okay? Streamlined communication. Where in your business does easier communication, frictionless experiences of communication, what areas? Think about not only with your customers, but with your team, with your staff as well. How many times is there confusion about a job and when it starts, or who's going on that job, or what supplies and tools we're going to need on that job? Ways of streamlining that communication, putting information into the hands of the people who need it even before they need it, so that it's there and waiting for them. Ways of streamlining. So think about that. Another one, increased accountability. Taylor, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about automation is, well, the way I look at increased accountability is the machine's accountable now. So you're not running around trying to make sure and go back and, did you do this? Did you do this? Have you called that customer? Have you signed up on that? Have you done this? So it's that constant manager that's going back and making sure that everything is gotten done. You're not getting the phone calls. I didn't get that thing. Nobody's called me yet. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's this whole thing. So then, the accountability piece is, it's a machine that's doing it. It's software that's doing it. So the only thing that you have to make sure is that the software is actually doing what you want it to do, and doing it in the time frame that you want it to do. And then once that's it, you have to check in on it and just make sure it's still working every once in a while. But other than that, it just works.
This next one, cost savings.
Huge.
Yeah, we tend to look at software as an expense, but any software that's worth using should be getting you a return in terms of savings. Like, what is it that this does for us that we would have had to do manually? Or even more important, what does this do for us that we weren't doing before, that was costing us a tremendous amount of money, and because it wasn't getting done? So that's another way of looking at it. Cost savings is just one of those areas where automation shines.
Yeah, and part of cost savings to me is time. So I look at this in the same bucket as buying a phone, just like I am right now. You know, if I had to go find an internet cafe and hook my computer up and try to do this, but I didn't have to do that. I just walked outside the building, got into my truck, and turned it on. You know, and I'm right here. What does that save me in time and energy and money? A lot. So my phone is an investment in my business. It's just part of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
And it frees you up to not have to be
Oh,
somewhere specific in order to do your business.
yes.
You can,
Which I don't know if you have freedom as a benefit, but that would be one.
it really would be. It's not a specific one. I mean, you could imply it in some of these.
Yeah.
Empowered employees is next. Employees that feel supported to make decisions and supported to do their job and do it well and succeed and win at the job that you've given them to do. Those employees feel empowered. And when they no longer have to do menial, repetitive, manual tasks as part of their daily work, now they're actually able to use their brains and do more important things and become empowered to really affect change in your business and growth in your business because they're not having to spend their time doing those things that, while they're important, are just a huge time suck and tend to get avoided all the way down from the top office all the way down. They just tend to get avoided. So empowered employees is a huge benefit too. Business efficiency, right? We talked about this.
Oh, man.
That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where your profit is made. The more efficient your business is, the wider the gap between your top line revenue and, I'm sorry, the wider the gap. That's the wrong way to say it. I don't know the best way to say it, but your profit increases
Right.
even on the same amount of revenue. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
So to me, it's like if you're making the same amount of revenue, you can increase your profits by being more efficient with all kinds of things. That may be reduction in labor. It could go anywhere to reduction in time to where you've got the labor there that they're only spending part of their time doing one thing and then they can do some other additional things. I also think in business efficiency, it helps you grow as well because now you've got something going that you don't have to cover all the time. You've got something in place that works. And now you're spending all your time training on those things that really help you grow.
Yeah. And productivity boost. That's very similar to some of these other things too.
Yeah.
But the ability to just not have to constantly use brain power to make sure that certain manual things are being done and being able to focus deeper on the tasks that really matter while knowing that something running for you is and automated for you is taking care of those tasks really does help with productivity. One of the biggest time thieves in business is task switching, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
man.
one of the things that robs us of productivity
Yes.
more than anything else. And automation can relieve a lot of that kind of time switching overhead.
Yep.
Which
Absolutely.
leads to number 7: higher quality work, higher quality, deeper work. That's one of the biggest benefits for me personally in automating my world and offloading as many different kinds of tasks as I can to automation is that it allows me to deep dive into the work that I do and produce much higher quality than I would be able to otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and I would agree with that. It's just when your mind is free to do those deep dives and to really dig in, and it's not just consumed with all the tasks, like you said, and a lot of times in managers, what I see in managers is they're following up with all these other things. If the follow up is automatic, and they don't have to do that follow up, then they can do deeper things. I think that's really important.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that pretty much covers it for today. And we're right at time, so that's great. I just want to remind people that you can get Spark Live as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify, Google Play, lots of different places, as well as watch the replays on Facebook and on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube, like our page on Facebook, and you'll get updates every time that we have a replay or a new weekly episode. You can catch us every single week, same time, same place. Next week, we're going to be actually talking with special guest Linda Roydhouse, one of our favorite people, and get a chance to talk about automation in her business, what she was able to automate in her office, how it saved her time, how it increased productivity, created revenue for them, and made life a little bit easier. So we're definitely looking forward to that conversation with somebody who I consider to be one of the best in home services industry as far as minding the farm and tending to business inside the office. So that's going to be a great conversation.
Yep, I agree. Well, thanks you guys for bearing with my hot phone. I've never seen that do that before, but now I know. Don't put your phone in the sun.
Yeah, Renee was saying, was it sitting in the sun? If so, that will do it.
Yeah, I had it sitting in the sun, and it just turned itself off and said emergency, too hot. So luckily, I got a good air conditioner in this truck.
Yeah, definitely a good thing. All right, friend. Well, enjoy what you're doing, and I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing, and we'll talk at some point soon. But thanks to all of you for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.